Welcome to Yacht Crew Vlogs, where we tell the stories of those in the yachting industry. A behind-the-scenes look that discovers the individuals in the industry, their history, their passions, and what inspires them to do what they do. Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of Yacht Crew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria, I am your host, and today I'm really pleased to introduce Simon and Carla. They are the owners of the YouTube channel, Sailing Ocean Fox. They started back in March 27th of 2018, and they now currently have almost 13,000 subscribers on their YouTube channel. And it was quite a quick rise to fame for you, wasn't it? Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, well, tell me a little bit about you guys. I mean, you know, you have, as I stated, it's been March 27th, 2018, so it's fairly recent. What were you guys doing prior to jumping on board a sailing yacht? What were you doing in your normal life prior to becoming live aboard?
I was a personal assistant working for lawyers in London, so it was a pretty much busy life. I had 5 jobs and working about 80 hours a week, so it was a big change.
I used to run my own events company, so I used to organize corporate events, and I've worked in 44 countries around the world doing corporate events, sport events, and also some government events. And I ran that for about 35 years. And I was still doing that when Carla and I met, which was 6 years ago,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it was 18 months later, in January 2017, that we were in Barbados and we got married. And 2 days after we got married, Carla said to me, "Do you fancy selling the house and buying a boat?" And I had to think about that for a little while. Must have been all of about 2 seconds, and said yes. I said, right, okay, that's what we're going to do. But I don't think it ever really dawned on us what we had committed ourselves to doing, because we said we were going to sail the oceans and not just sail around the English Channel, for example. So it was all a little bit...
a drastic decision.
Yeah. And it took us around about 15 months to sell the house that we were in and get everything organized in order to buy a boat. And we did that in Croatia, in Zadar, where we found our 40-foot catamaran.
What was it about sailing that sort of really made you take that final step? What was it that sort of, I don't know, your soul and your heart and your mind and everything said, you know what, this is what we need to do. This is our next step.
I always had a love for the oceans. You know, it was a passion for the ocean. I was always around the ocean. I always lived around the beach and things like that. But I have never sailed before, but I knew Simon was a very experienced sailor.
Oh, very experienced. I'm not sure that I would say that myself. I mean, I have sailed across, I'd had 4 yachts and I have sailed across the English Channel and down to the Channel Islands in France. But actually going from that to crossing an ocean was an entirely different ballgame. And that's something that was quite daunting, really, when you started to actually read into it and, you know, to find out, research what we were actually going to be going to do. As a sort of overview of our route, we started in Croatia. We went to Montenegro, through the Corinth Canal, all the way through the Cyclades Island to Rhodes. And then we started heading west through Italy, up to Sardinia, across through the Balearic Islands, down to Gibraltar. And on the 1st of January in 2019, we set off from the Canary Islands to cross the Atlantic. And we recently got back from the Caribbean a few months ago, didn't we?
Yeah, well, we spent 18 months.
18 months in the Caribbean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. So tell me what the benefits are of living on board and what the drawbacks are, because everything in life, there's always pros and cons. For you, what have you found different than normal living is such a benefit living aboard? And what have you found that is kind of not so great?
I think it's the freedom, isn't it, Simon? It's the freedom you have that you don't have when you live in between 4 walls, isn't it? Because here we just go outside all the time. We live outside practically.
Yeah, even here in Portugal at this time of year,
Yes.
we could sit out and have a meal because the sun's shining most of the time. But it's the fact that you can just, I think, weigh anchor and move on. And you can always just go and explore places and see different places. If you get bored or somebody's got a noisy generator in the anchorage or something, you can just pick up the anchor and move and go and find somewhere entirely different. And it is absolutely stunning. It's a stunning lifestyle. If you think that you might like this lifestyle, I could almost guarantee it's going to be better than your wildest dreams, because it is absolutely fantastic.
One of the biggest downsides is I get very, very seasick. So the first 2 days at sea, I have to lie down, and I'm just basically running from this couch here to the bathroom to throw up. It's just, it's horrendous.
It's horrendous.
It's terrible. Yeah. And then consequently, Simon stays on the boat by himself. He has to handle everything by himself, which is not good too. Obviously, if we have a stress, I have to get up and go and do it. But yeah, it's not the most comfortable thing to do.
No. I mean, one thing I think that there's a different thing between weekend sailing and actually living aboard, because, for example, when you just live aboard, you're down on your boat. Your boat probably stays in the marina all week. You don't have to worry so much about charging batteries or making water and things like that. But when you actually live aboard, you're actually going to be, most of us, and I mean, we're nowhere in the world are we wealthy. We don't even own a house now. We own, our house is our boat. But most of the time we spent it on the anchor. And though it's absolutely beautiful being on the anchor, and it's probably much nicer most of the time than being in the marina, life does become a little bit more tricky. You can't walk off the boat, you've got to get in the dinghy, so you need a decent outboard and a decent dinghy. You need to make your own water, especially in the Caribbean, because water in the Caribbean is as expensive as buying diesel, for example. And also wind electrical power, power for all the electrics and services and the fridges and freezers on board. That becomes quite a sort of stressful if you're not really very careful.
Yeah.
So living on the anchor and living aboard full time isn't quite the same as just going for a little weekend jaunt every other weekend down to your boat. It becomes a little bit more serious. Yeah.
Well, the question that I have asked other couples that live aboard, how is it with your relationship and the dynamics between the two of you? Does that affect your relationship? Do you find it different than when you were living ashore?
Well, we've only been together for about 6 years, and we wanted to do something different with our new life together, as opposed to just living in a house and seeing friends on weekend and going to the pub. But what I would say is that if you don't get on well with your spouse, I really don't think this is the best
place for you to go. No, because you really need to get very well.
Yeah, there's plenty of opportunities to have a bit of a shouting match when things go wrong.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean by that. Even if it's only yelling because you need something done and the other partner doesn't understand or something. But there's loads of opportunities to have a bit of a row if you're that way inclined. So I think number one advice here is, if you don't get on with your partner well, I'm not sure that this is actually the lifestyle for you. I don't think it's going to make the relationship
better. No, you will make it worse probably. Yeah.
I guess it would be a true test of that relationship for sure, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
It certainly would. And you spend an awful lot of time together, because if you're crossing the ocean, I mean, it's 2 or 3 weeks at times at sea.
So it's no opportunity for you to see anyone else or just talk to someone else. No, it's just you two.
Yeah.
And everything you do is together. You go to the supermarket together because you both need to get things and
carry it back.
And everything you do is together, basically. Isn't it?
And even though our boat's 40 foot long and it's a catamaran, so it's 20 odd feet wide, it's still quite small when you get it in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
And there's only the two of you on board. There's not that much room to escape. Yeah.
Well, one thing I have noticed is you've got a cat running around behind you.
Yeah. We have a naked cat.
Yeah. How is that, having an animal on board?
Well, first of all, I'm allergic to cats. So we landed up settling, Carla wanted a cat, so we landed up settling on a Sphinx, which is a naked cat.
Yeah.
And you can see he's got his little t-shirt on today because he's a bit chilly.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's no problem at all. I mean, it's a bit stressful because when we are at Anchorage, he went for a swim 3 times.
He's been for a swim 3 times, yeah.
So
once he fell off the front of the boat when
which
he
is
was
quite a big jump.
Yeah. He was hysterical, absolutely hysterical.
Yeah.
I had to dive in and swim underneath the boat to rescue him. But on the whole, when we're at anchor, he's fine. He walks around. He knows the perimeters. When we go into a marina like we are now, he's dying to get off onto the pontoon and discover something else, which is
a bit more stressful.
Bit more stressful for us. Yeah.
Getting into the countries and checking in, checking out is no problem at all. It hasn't been a problem at all.
No. We visited over
47 countries.
47 countries, and we've only had 2 countries which have asked for paperwork. And normally nobody even asks for anything. So having a cat on board is really isn't too difficult. And the advantage of a hairless one, of course, is you don't have any hair everywhere.